Dr. Paul Mason, it's not hard to find a healthy diet that you can love, find effortless and liberating.
We don't even have to go to the latest textbooks or anything like that. I'm actually learning from articles. I can go back to a journal from the 1950s or the 1960s, and there's a hell of a lot of insights in a lot of the old literature that is just, has effectively been lost. But it's absolutely amazing how much of lost knowledge and what we consider a new discoveries is actually really old hat. I'm in a few Facebook groups for doctors where there's several hundred doctors, and I ended up in an exchange today. And there were accusations about people talking about dietary management being guilty of fat shaming and so on and so forth. And the point that was made quite strongly was that by telling people that they should eat a certain way is actually going to be causing them emotional distress, and we shouldn't be doing that to our patients. And for me personally, we've got damn good evidence that eating a certain way will be healthier. I think it's actually akin to negligence, medical negligence, if we don't tell our patients this. And yet I ended up somehow in this online argument with some other doctors, and it wasn't just one isolated doctor who was saying, what if you tell them that they need to do this for their health? There was no argument that eating this way was good for diabetes. The argument was it would cause emotional stress if they couldn't follow it. The point I originally made was that we shouldn't be blaming the patient. We should be blaming the people who subject us to the dietary guideline. The amount of patients I've had who are eternally grateful for having had their lives turned around because they've basically been subjecting themselves to, self-induced eating disorders and exercise excess and so on and so forth to try and maintain body weight on an unhealthy diet as per the dietary guidelines. And the gratitude when they actually say, you know what, it doesn't have to be hard. I can do this effortlessly. I can control my carbohydrate, my sugar control gets better, my weight goes away, and I'm not continuously hungry. And the most rewarding thing is that when people will describe to me their relationship with food, they say, I now have a good relationship with food. I sit down to every meal and I savor every goddamn bite. I love it. And I know that it's healthy. Whereas previously, if you're sort of, worried about your weight or what have you, or if you're in this different mindset, you don't look at food as a source of nourishment. You look at it as a source of calories that will make you fat. Go onto a healthy diet and to be able to change that mindset, it's incredibly liberating.
I'm learning from articles from journals of the 1950s and 60s. There is a lot of insights from this old literature that has effectively been lost. It's amazing how much of what we consider new discoveries is actually old hat. I interact within a Facebook group with several hundred doctors. Today there was an exchange where if people are talking about dietary management, that they are guilty of fat shaming. The point was, by telling people they should eat a certain way would cause emotional distress, and we should not be doing this to our patients. Dr. Mason says, when we have damn good evidence that when we eat a certain way, we will be healthier, it is medical negligence if we don't tell our patients. But several doctors said, even though we know that eating this way will improve diabetes, we can't tell the patients to avoid emotional distress. My point was, we should not be blaming the patient. We should blame the people who have subjected us to the dietary guidelines. My patients are eternally grateful for having their lives turned around because they have been subjecting themselves to self-induced eating disorders and excessive exercise to try to maintain weight on an unhealthy diet. When they find out about the healthy way to eat, they say, it doesn't have to be hard. I can do this effortlessly. I can control my carbs. My weight goes away and I'm not continuously hungry. They say, I now have a good relationship with food. Dr. Mason says, I sit down to every meal. For every bite, I love it, and I know it is healthy. Previously, if you were worried about your weight, you would look at food as simply a source of calories that would make you fat. Going with a healthy diet and being able to change that mindset is incredibly liberating. Annotated, summarized. Please share with a loved one.